On this show, we cover some sensitive topics.
Though the obituaries may be outlandish, the people are real.
Names have been changed or omitted in order to respect both the deceased and the survived by.
While death is no laughing matter, some petty last words can provide some pretty entertaining comic relief.
Welcome to Obituary. Welcome back to Obituary. I'm Spencer Henry.
And I'm Madison Reyes.
And I am...
Tired, baby.
a sleepy guy. I am a sleepy...
Tell them how much sleep you got.
About 2.5 hours collectively last night.
Oh my God, you had to take someone to the airport?
I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning, took someone to the airport. This is after a week of 13-hour work days.
Uh-huh.
Every day. Maybe 12 hours on some days. But this is the finish line.
Until Monday.
Until Monday. So trust and believe. I'm bringing it by all. This is probably going to be a very erratic episode.
Very much so. You are struggling. I can see it written all over you.
Madison, actually, last night, I believe you woke up at around 11:30 p.m.
Well, I took a little nap at around 7 and I set an alarm 30 minutes. I'm just going to take a cat nap and then I'm going to get back to work. Cut to 11:30. I shoot out of bed like, what the fuck?
Every time it's like clockwork. You're like,
know.
I was just gonna take a nap, and then I don't know. Next thing you know, I'm up at midnight and I didn't sleep all night.
I would pay to see like security footage of me just hearing the alarm, fully waking up, turning it off, and going back to sleep. So I have no recollection.
I definitely do that sometimes where if I'm like pushing myself to the limit, I'll wake up that morning or whatever. I'll turn off my alarms and fall back asleep.
Mm-hmm.
But it's more of a rarity. But I get migraines if I oversleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm running on a strong 2.5 hours.
Running on fumes.
I've tried to do everything I can. I didn't want to drink a ton of coffee today because I was like, that's not going to make me feel good.
Yeah.
It's just going to make me shakier.
You called me and you're like, girly, ask me how I'm doing.
I said, not well, bitch.
You were like, I'm shaking.
I know. I chugged 3 huge things of water. I mean, I've drinking more water than that since then, but the electrolytes, everything, the liquid IVs, I've showered. I've done everything that I could do to get it together.
Yeah. And you took a nap.
I did.
1 hour, though.
I took an hour nap.
Did you feel crazy?
I want to cry. I still feel
okay.
emotional afterwards. And I think I've talked about this before, but I just get very lethargic and I get very emotional.
Yes.
I wonder why that is. I wonder if there's like a scientific reason behind it. Because even right now, I feel like I could cry.
Oh, I feel like you're such a structured person that any change to your routine just makes you go off the rails.
It does.
It really does. But if it makes you feel any better, I was very emotional today.
Why?
I watched the preview for the new Little Mermaid.
Oh, so cute.
Well, first of all, I love Halle Bailey. I think she's such and her sister Chloe.
Beautiful.
Love them so much. I just loved seeing all the videos of all the kids being so excited. It just made me really emotional.
It was very sweet. I saw a few of those online, like kids reacting to seeing finally a mermaid that looks like them.
Yes.
It was really sweet. You know what I actually watched? My sister was in town last weekend and we watched the new Pinocchio.
Oh, is it live action?
Yeah.
Okay, was it good?
Eh.
I didn't hear about it.
Yeah. I don't know. It was fine, but I wasn't like blown away.
Yeah.
I was also very tired that night. I guess I'm just tired all the time.
I know.
Okay, so I did Google really quick. I was like, why do I want to cry when I wake up from a nap?
Okay.
And it immediately says mood disorders such as anxiety and depression tend to be the biggest reason adults wake up crying. I'm like, well, check. That's me.
Oh my God, I love it. I wake up just talking gibberish, apparently. Last night you called me and I was like trying to explain a dream. And then halfway through, I'm like, am I still asleep? You're like, yeah, I think you are.
Just go back to bed.
God, this weekend, I spent my whole weekend watching Cobra Kai, the new season.
Wow.
Fucking badass. No, it's like one of those shows that feels nostalgic because they always reference all the Karate Kid movies, but it's also so cheesy and like a teenager show for adults.
Okay.
And I absolutely love it.
I really don't know anything about it, but I know
Ever
people like
watch
it.
Karate Kid?
Well, yeah, I feel like everyone's seen it.
You want to cry, Mr. Miyagi? He'll make you fucking cry.
Love it. You know what I did start watching? Well, I'm still watching The Patient. You're still watching The Patient.
Yeah, I just thought the last episode was boring.
Ugh, I loved it.
Okay.
I thought it was so good. Every episode so far, I've been like, okay.
You just like it because it's 20 minutes.
Why do you keep coming for me? No, I know I do love that it's 20 minutes. See, you can sit and you will sit there all night and just binge watch a TV show with your husband. I cannot do that. I do not have the mental capacity for it. I'm like, 20 minutes, watch an episode of something good. I did also watch, they did a new show on Netflix called Sins of Our Mother, and it's about Lori Vallow.
Oh.
And the whole Chad Daybell saga.
Yes.
And I watched the first episode of it today. It's really good.
Okay, wait. Speaking of her, I saw her son was in the news recently.
He was arrested for allegedly raping his estranged wife.
Fuck.
I know, and it's really weird because, well, not weird, but it's eerie because the two of them appear in this docuseries together.
This Netflix one?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously it was probably filmed months before this all went down, but
Right.
like, yeah, you see them as a couple on this show speaking about this horrific tragedy, and it's like months later, now he's being arrested for assault.
The whole bloodline is fucked up.
Oh, God. Well, listen, he wrote a book
Uh-huh.
about his experience or whatever. It was like almost like an intermediate book, like children's book or something.
Perfect.
Like 40 pages, really big font. And
Okay.
I ordered it because I wanted to read it for Cult Leader. And I talked about it on one of the Little Leaders, and it just was mainly about his relationship with God. It didn't really give any groundbreaking
Details.
No, and this show, honestly, I kept seeing articles pop up online because I wanted to see what critics were saying about it. And they were like, bombshell after bombshell. And I feel like there wasn't a lot of bombshells being dropped. There was some new information, though, and it's put together really well, which, you know, not everything is. We watched the Army Hammer
I was
docuseries.
just thinking that. I was like, I was not very impressed by it. I didn't
No.
feel like I learned anything new.
And there were some random people in it, too, with
Yeah.
this. I don't know. I feel like they just put together docuseries now about fucking everything. I mean, Abercrombie and Fitch and this and
That one was lame, too.
And it's like, you don't want to negate that these bad things happen and that there's bad people and there's corruption, because of course there is.
If you're going to do a documentary, it better be fucking good.
Put new information.
These feel like a payout.
1000%.
We're just gonna do these, have people come talk, boom, put it up, everyone will watch it.
That's
like,
literally what happens. Well, you
Yeah.
know, I was asked to be in a documentary, and I was like, no.
yeah.
It felt rushed. Everything feels
Yeah.
rushed.
Real people are
Involved.
and hurt from these things. Like, it's not just
I would
for
be
entertainment.
Happy to be a commentator on something.
It's got to be right. It's got to feel right. It's got to
Mhm.
have the right vibe.
Yeah.
And this one didn't.
Well, and it's also just like the whole true crime movement,
Mm-hmm.
which, like, obviously Cult Leader is true crime, though I
Right.
focus less on like murders and more so on like, especially lately, like cults and religious fanaticism and stuff. Not everything needs to be a true crime documentary.
Right.
Like the Abercrombie one was what sent me over the edge, because it
Yeah.
came out at the same time as like Bad Vegan and
That-
The Tinder Swindler, and it's like
Yeah.
they're really scraping.
Uh-huh. The bottom of the barrel.
Oh, who are we, Roger and Ebert? We're just like, ow, boo.
2 thumbs
Piss.
down.
If we made a documentary, it'd just be us walking around with boxes on our head.
Yeah. What the hell? We don't know how to work anything.
Oh, please. We're just a couple of assholes.
Oh my God. Well, I'm not ready for assholes yet.
Oh,
'cause
okay.
I got an email for us.
I'm like actually asleep right now.
Yeah. Wake up.
I didn't say anything, movie people. I didn't mean it. I was just tired. Cranky.
Okay, it doesn't say if I can say her name or not. I'm assuming I can, but I'm just going to leave it out. But you know who you are. They wrote, "Hi, Madison and Spencer. I came across your podcast by accident just the other day and absolutely loved it," which amazing. "I knew immediately I had to tell you this story. I live in Dubai, but I am originally from Kazakhstan. Back home, we have a tradition. Basically, when someone dies, they have to be buried within 3 days. For those 3 days, the body stays home with the family to give people a chance to visit and say goodbye. On the day of the actual funeral, everyone gets together around the body and says prayers and cries." Spencer would be great right now there.
Yeah, my emotional state.
"It is important that loud crying has to be heard. For this reason, a family hires professional criers.
Moirologists.
They are usually elderly women, 2 or 3 is enough for a small funeral, and they have to come and cry and preach very loudly to get everybody else going. They are supposed to call out the deceased name many times and say what good of a father, husband, brother, etc. they were. Once they are done with the crying, they get paid and leave. Anyway, when I was 12, my beloved grandpa passed away in his sleep. It was a real tragedy for all of us, as it was very unexpected. As normal, family members washed his body, dressed him, and put him on the floor in the living room for display, covered with white sheets as per tradition," which I love that tradition. I think that's awesome.
Yes.
"I think we had like 300 visitors come and go. I remember thinking, wow, Grandpa really touched a lot of lives. When in fact, most likely half of those people came in for free food." On the day of the funeral, all the family members gathered around his body and waited for the hired crying women to show up. One old lady came in, sat down, and immediately started crying. I would love to attend one of these.
I think we could do it.
Just the drama and just the whole show of it.
Living for it.
So she started crying, weeping, and preaching very loudly, and then suddenly she stopped, turned to the person next to her and asked, "What was his name?" And then resumed crying and calling out his name. Even though everyone was very sad, I heard a few giggles in the crowd. I guess even in the worst of situations, when something really funny happens, it's hard not to laugh.
That is fucking gold. Thank you for that story.
Hey, what's his name? Oh, yes. Oh.
Oh my God, I love it.
Ugh, I would feel like an asshole if I didn't know the name.
Oh, an asshole for sure. And some assholes I've got for you, girly.
Yeah, baby.
This first one says, "Am I the asshole for telling my sister that she can't name her baby after my dead husband?"
Oh, we've had one of these before.
Well, what was it? It was like the daughter got pregnant, remember? And she didn't know that
Yes.
she had an older sibling who died or something.
Oh, it all pisses me off.
Oh, please. This says, "I'll be using fake names. I, 30-year-old female, am 8 months pregnant with my first child. It's a boy. My husband, Rodrigo, 35, died in the army 3 months ago." Oh,
I'm
imagine
sorry.
while you're pregnant. That's
know.
awful. "My sister, Kayla, 28, just gave birth 5 days ago. She and her boyfriend live with our parents, and I temporarily moved in as well. It's a very big house because I hated being alone, and my parents have been very supportive." I just have to
course.
pause this. How hard would it be to have a sibling 2 years younger than you? You're both pregnant at the same time.
Oh my God.
She gives birth and has her boyfriend there, and you've lost your husband. My God.
The emotions she must be feeling. Like the range of emotions. Happy, sad, angry.
Yesterday, she came back home with the baby and introduced us all to baby boy Rodrigo,
What?
her dead husband's name.
What?
I started crying.
Are you fucking out of your goddamn mind, little sister?
I started crying and told her that's really awful of her. My mother comforted me and told my sister she is way out of line with the name. Sister says, I don't own the name. It's a common name where we live. It is. And I'm going with Rodrigo as a middle name anyways, not a first, so it won't be a problem. I told my sister to just change the name to literally anything else, and she says I'm an asshole for suggesting that she changes her kid's identity. Am I the asshole?
Oh,
This
first of all,
kid is 5 days old.
your baby doesn't have an identity yet.
No.
First of all. Second of all, you're a dumb fucking bitch and a bad sister for that.
Bad sister.
I am sorry, but you are evil for that.
Naming it the same name? Are you kidding me?
Wow. 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 Even if it were like to honor him or whatever.
That's a conversation to be had beforehand, first of all.
And you get approval.
You get approval. Or if she was like, we're naming the middle name after him because he was so important to us or whatever. Oh, you want me to change it? Sure, of course.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry if I crossed a boundary.
But to tell your older sister, who's pregnant herself, 8 months pregnant herself, has lost her husband a few months in, and you're going to name your baby after her deceased husband and call her an asshole?
Oh my God, you have got the wrong idea about life.
Yeah, and fuck you and your kid's identity.
Oh, please. Your kid's probably
Identity?
ugly.
What kind of personality do you have at 5 days old?
Goo goo gaga.
Yeah, please. We're just tearing this kid a new one.
I know.
We're like, fuck you. Enemy number 1.
Rodrigo.
Oh, God. That is horrifying.
Really terrible. I want to go punch something. Hold on.
Oh, hold on. Ow! Just kidding. All right, this next one says, am I the asshole for not allowing my husband to keep his mother's ashes?
Okay.
Let's hear it out.
I know.
I stopped reading them ahead of time because, like, I like to just be just as surprised as you. So I've just been picking them by the subject line.
Willy-nilly.
It says, my husband and I are both 51. He lost his mother earlier in the month after a short hospice visit. They were close, and I genuinely loved having her as a mother-in-law. We are both grieving, and he is the roughest I've seen him in our marriage. Her only request for after death is that she be cremated. This was a discussion we had all had together, as my husband is an only child and she was divorced, so naturally he, and by extension I, would handle funerary arrangements. When asked what she'd like to happen to her ashes, she expressed no preference, saying she wouldn't care if she was dead, just to sprinkle her / put her somewhere we'd know she'd like. My husband decided to put her in an urn on our mantle, and intends to keep it there permanently, and I am mortified.
Why?
It creeps me out. I feel bad energy. I know it's a normal thing to keep a loved one's ashes, but I am not comfortable with this. He will sit and stare at her urn for well, that's a little strange. He'll stare at her urn for hours. I'm honestly concerned for him on top of being absolutely creeped out. I've allowed it for a few days, not wanting to upset my husband's grief, but I brought it up yesterday suggesting we sprinkle them in a scenic location or even pick out a nice plot. My husband wouldn't hear of it. He started bawling, saying that he wants to be close with his mom, and I mentioned it again today and he got angry, claiming that I'm trying to separate them. I explained that I am just not all that comfortable having her ashes in my home, even suggesting that we sprinkle them in the backyard, but he won't entertain any of it. It feels like I have a dead person living in my home. I know it's the grief talking and my husband isn't thinking rationally, but I hate seeing her in my living room. Am I the asshole?
Okay. You both need therapy, I think. And I say this with love. You have an issue with...
Like she's listening. I love when we talk to them just like they're listening.
I know. They don't know who the fuck we are. But she needs to have a little therapy with her relationship with death and the whole ashes thing.
She should be listening to this podcast.
She should. That wouldn't bother me. And I mean, even before this show, it wouldn't bother me. I'm not saying I'm the barometer, but like just I feel like I have a general sense of death, you know?
Yeah.
Also, he's grieving. Maybe give him a couple years and then maybe he'll feel ready to sprinkle the ashes. You both need help.
It says he lost his mom earlier this month, so it's like it's new.
If you've been married for however long and you're 51 years old, I'm sure you've had life experience, you need to be a little softer.
Yeah.
And I get like, okay, staring
or a
at
little
the
tougher. Deal with having ashes in your house.
I know. Please, it's not real.
Get over it. No, but honestly.
Just little ashes. If he starts eating them, then you will have a problem.
Yeah, then we got to call my strange addiction like that one woman, and that is rough.
It's just like dust, though. Just let it sit there.
Yeah. Put a plant next to it.
Yeah, you've got issues, honey.
Yeah, she was voted the asshole. And I mean, it's true. Like, honestly, after I lost my mom, I'm not a crier, really. You know that about me.
I've never seen you cry.
Never?
Never.
Swear.
Swear. I've never seen you cry. You've seen me cry a million times.
I do cry when I get sentimental. Like for my 30th birthday, my sister got me a book. Remember she made me a book and it was
Yes.
like pictures from everyone in my life, like all of my friends with like saying something nice. That is the shit that will get me going. But after my mom, I've never cried so much in my life. The first year, I think I would cry every day probably.
Right, because that's natural. You're going through something traumatic. You lost your mother.
Just let people grieve.
Let people grieve. And like, I would be offended. Like, oh, my mother's ashes are freaking you out. I'm freaked out by your living body, bitch.
I'd be like, get out of my house. Like, imagine if your husband, if you had your mom's ashes on a mantle and he came home and
I'd
he's like,
kill
can
him.
you get him out of here?
I'd kill him.
Yeah, guess what? You're going to go in the next fucking urn. You're going to be sitting right next to her.
And I'm going to be grossed out by that urn, and I'm going to go sprinkle it at the city dump.
Yeah, the dump.
I would be pissed. It's horrible.
It's mean. Like, honestly, I think one of the things that astonishes me the most about Am I the Assholes every time is one, the selfishness of people and just like the audacity people have when people are grieving. I'm like, you've never gone through loss if you can't handle shit like this.
The lack of self-awareness. Yeah, let people grieve.
It's so wild to me.
Wild.
Because everyone handles things differently. And it's also just like, not everyone's going to process things the same way that you think you would process things.
In any aspect of life, death, absolutely, but anything. Like, you can't put your expectations on other people because you'll be let down.
Truth bombs. I know, I love that. That's absolutely the truth.
Yeah.
Wow, you've been learning something from my therapist, Madison.
Yes. Hallmark, call me.
No, it's true. It's true. It's true.
Speaking of grieving, do you have a side bitch?
Madison. Okay, so this is like an obituary first. I'm going to be changing things up this week, and I'm going to save my first obituary to read during my coffin spinner, and you'll understand why once we get there. So how's about we just take a little break, and then when we come back, we'll hear what had you spinning in your coffin.
So it's a 2-for-1.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Okay.
We'll be right back. And we're back. What had you spinning in your coffin this week, girly?
Oh, well, you talked about heartbreak last week.
Oh, did I?
So I wanted to start us off with burying that little sucker.
Heart burials.
Heart burials. And we're going to talk about crossroad burials today. I'm going to start with the heart, though. So I touched on a heart burial like 40 episodes ago when I talked about people buried without certain body parts. I believe I talked about King Louis XIV and our girl Anne Boleyn. They both had heart burials. But I have quite a few heart burials that I have not talked about.
Oh, yeah, Anne, we know her.
Poor lady. A heart burial is literally what it sounds like. The heart is taken out of the body and buried separately from it.
Why?
During the medieval times, a heart burial was pretty common. It was even more common to bury a person's guts along with the heart. Not just guts, but brains, eyeballs, tongue. Entrails, all of it, honey. This was because sometimes people died far away from their homes, and to transport a whole body could lead to a wide array of infections, and it wasn't as easy to transport. So guts and hearts were coming home to you. But I also learned that your organs and intestines were the fastest to decompose.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I guess what is the skin the last to go? Okay, I don't know, but we've got some stories. So we've got King Henry the First. We have not gone back to him. Only the 8th, okay? So apparently he died from eating a jawless fish.
Embarrassing.
He got food poisoning, but I'm like, a jawless fish, aren't they all jawless?
I mean, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think you're a jawless.
My jawline is nowhere to be seen these days.
Oh.
She'll come back. She will. So he got food poisoning. He never recovered. But when he died...
Wait, do you remember when you were doing jaw exercises?
Yes, my jaw was looking so good. You guys, I totally recommend it. You can watch videos on YouTube. They're face exercises.
Love it.
Love it.
That was a moment. That was probably a pandemic thing.
Oh, yeah. We did a lot of things. We were painters.
Oh, artiste.
Artiste.
Okay, well, tell me
Okay.
about this King Henry.
All right. So when he died, he was embalmed at the Rouen Cathedral. But listen, I was reading this from museum.org.uk and it said, quote, his heart and intestines were removed and buried at the Priory of Notre Dame du Pré. The brain and eyes were also taken out. The corpse was already starting to smell. Scented balm was rubbed on Henry's insides. His flesh was rubbed with salt to stop it from rotting and wrapped in ox hides. The man who removed Henry's brain is said to have been killed by the strong, pervasive stench.
The odor. Oh my God.
Can you imagine? I would be embarrassed.
Well, I'm also like, they didn't really have gloves then. So there's someone just like reaching in with bare hands, rubbing salt on his insides. Please.
Stinky brain?
King Henry.
Ugh. It goes on to say the corpse's journey to England was delayed for 4 weeks at Caen by a strong winter gale preventing the ship from setting out for England. Despite the precautions to try and preserve Henry's corpse, black fluid started leaking from the ox hides. Finally, at Christmas, there was favorable wind and the ship set sail accompanied by an escort of monks from Saint Etienne. The body was then buried at the Reading Abbey, and his brain, tongue, eyes, bowels, and heart is buried at the cathedral in Rouen. Then we have Richard the Lionheart. Okay, I was looking at pictures of him and I was like, he's hot. He's super cute. But then I was like, oh fuck, I think it like depended on the painter because
What was his name?
Richard the Lionheart.
I need to see this. Isn't it funny though? Sometimes you look back, you're like, wait a second, this guy's.
Like, you don't look inbred.
Oh, yeah, handsome.
Handsome.
Smash.
Smash, right? So he was the King of England from 1189 to 1899. He was the son, though, of King Henry II. He apparently didn't like his dad, though, and was a total mama's boy, and she didn't like King Henry II either, and they all plotted against him, he and his mom and his brothers. They campaigned against him in France and defeated him in a battle, and King Henry II had to surrender to his son. So then the son, King Richard the Lionheart, became king over his dad. He died at age 41, and he was touted as one of the bravest kings in history. He was always fighting and won a ton of battles, but he was shot in the shoulder by a crossbow, and he died from that wound, which turned into gangrene. But there's a deathbed situation here, though. Richard demanded that the person who shot him come to his bedside. That person was a young man, and he was out purely for revenge against Richard because he said Richard killed his 2 brothers and his dad. And you'd think, with what we know, how crazy, especially like the Tudors were, you'd think that Richard would have immediately tortured and killed him, but instead, Richard the Lionheart forgave him, gave him 100 shillings, and set him free. According to Wikipedia, Richard's heart was buried at Rouen in Normandy, his entrails in Chalice, where he died, and the rest of his body at the feet of his father at Fontevraud Abbey in Anjou. In 2012, scientists analyzed the remains of Richard's heart and found that it had been embalmed with various substances, including frankincense, a symbolically important substance because it had been present both at the birth and embalming of the Christ. Okay. Then we have Thomas Hardy. He was an English poet and writer. He was born in 1840 and he lived through the Victorian times, and he was pretty critical of the Victorian times and like high society. He married his wife, Emma, in 1874, and in 1912 she died. In 1927, he became super ill. He suffered from something called pleurisy. It was an inflammation around the lungs and chest cavity, and on his deathbed, he wrote his last ever poem that was dedicated to his wife. But when he died, his wishes were that he would be buried in Dorset, England, which was where his wife was already buried. He actually wanted to be in the same grave as her, but at the time of his death, he had an estate that was worth almost $7 million. So he had an executor who was like, absolutely not. He needs to be buried at the Poets' Corner, which is in Westminster Abbey, where a lot of poets and writers are buried. But his loved ones wanted him to be buried where he said he wanted to be buried with his wife. So they came up with an agreement that his heart would be buried with his late wife, and that his body, which was cremated, would be buried at Poets' Corner.
Okay.
So that's where it is.
Hey, compromise.
Lastly, we have Percy Shelley. This one's wild, and we could do a whole episode on this man. He was Mary Shelley, the writer of Frankenstein's husband.
Oh.
She was his second wife. He was an English poet. He wrote mostly romance poems, but he was also interested in all things occult and science and you name it.
Love it.
He had a very interesting life. He was also an atheist, so he got a lot of criticism for that. And also, he and Mary said their first I love yous at the grave of her mother, apparently. In 1822, Percy had a boat called the Don Juan, and when he was 29, he was sailing on it, but then a storm sunk the ship. There was no sign of Percy for 10 days until his body washed ashore. His body was badly decomposed and then cremated a few weeks later, which I thought was odd. I did the math and it was 3 or 4 weeks later. I'm like, what? How'd they, I don't know, I guess kept him preserved? I don't know. Mary and friends were in attendance to watch the cremation on the beach. So he's being cremated, right? The cremation is pretty much done, and they notice his heart did not burn. His heart would not go. It had a bunch of ash over it. It was black. It was charred, but it would absolutely not burn.
Weird.
Well, apparently he suffered from tuberculosis early in his life, and it calcified his heart.
Whoa.
So with just the heart left, a fight kind of ensued over it. Mary was like, I want it. And then someone else was like, I want it. I want it.
Well, it's his wife.
It's his wife, right? But his friend was like, no, we're going to bury it somewhere or whatever. She finally got it. She wrapped it in silk and she kept it until she died in her writing desk. And it was found after she died.
That's sick.
Okay. It's cool, but then I did a little more research, and there's some historians that are like, that's not a heart, that's a liver. But hey, I'm sticking with heart for the heart burial, okay?
I liver it.
I liver it. Now on to crossroads burial. It literally means someone is buried at a crossroads, think of a road with 4 roads.
Sure.
Okay?
We're familiar.
I know. I will be talking about suicide a little bit, so trigger warning, because I know it can be a hard topic to hear. But a crossroads burial was typically reserved for murderers and someone dying by suicide. A crossroads burial was also known as a profane burial. A profane burial, according to medium.com, was the one where the body of the deceased was desecrated and not given the same burial respects required when the person died and the soul left for a heavenly abode. In Europe, from the 16th century to the pre-modern era, profane burial practices were observed, where the bodies of the suicide victims were buried across the crossroads, and suicide was considered a felony and unholiness. Now, today we know so much more about mental health. We know that when someone has passed because of suicide, depression, and other mental illnesses are to blame. And a mental illness is just like a physical illness and can be chronic. We obviously know generally it's not necessarily a selfish act, but a last resort to someone's suffering. And we also have so many more avenues of help and treatment than back throughout history. Back in ancient Greece and Rome, suicide was referred to as self-death. And they weren't super pressed about it one way or the other. They were sort of of the thought process of, well, God will be the one who does the final judgment. If you are living a super painful life, then there's more understanding. There was also something called a hero's code that meant if you were a soldier, it was way more heroic to take your own life than to surrender to enemies. And many doctors even did things called mercy killings for people who were very ill. Society was much more tolerant of all of these things until the Christians came in. this is like 5th century through the Middle Ages, through the early modern eras. The Christian church thought that suicide was a sin under canon law, which is like the laws that govern the Catholic Church.
Sure.
According to cultnation.com, quote, suicide was unequivocally declared a moral abomination, a sinful act of violence against God directed by the devil himself, which shall not be forgiven, neither in this world, neither in the world to come. So they literally looked at it as like a supernatural act that the devil had gotten a hold of your soul and you're doomed. This is where it gets really fucked up, though. You were most likely denied any proper Christian burial rites. Your body would be posthumously excommunicated from the church. Sometimes you were posthumously facing legal action because of this, and if you were found guilty of suicide, you were considered a felon, also known as felt de se, which means felon of himself. Sometimes a suicide victim's body was dragged through town. It was customary to talk shit about it, to desecrate them, to just like stick your nose up at them. I'm like, just let them rest in peace, for God's sakes.
It's not Christian behavior.
It was. Sometimes they were beheaded. Sometimes they had stakes driven through their hearts. This was to pin them and keep their spirits down so they couldn't rise again. They were a lot of the times buried face down, buried at night, and buried north to south instead of east to west. A lot of the times their possessions were either destroyed or confiscated as almost a payment for their crime against themselves.
God, it's so... Get off your fucking high horse, you fucking
Break.
judgmental bitches.
Bitch. And most of the time, they were buried at a crossroads. Why they were buried at a crossroads, again from that cultnation.com, it says the significance of a crossroads burial has a unique history of its own, one that traces back to pagan times. Crossroads have long been considered an uneasy place, transitional gaps between bounded areas that were unclaimed and vulnerable to supernatural forces. The people of antiquity would leave polluted materials expelled from society, be it household garbage or executed criminals at these converging pathways. In ancient Greece, the customary treatment of those convicted of parricide, murder of a blood relative, was execution, followed by ritual desecration at a crossroads. The body would be carried naked to an appointed crossroads lying outside the city, and each official would throw a stone at the corpse's head as an act of purification. The body was then left unburied. Also, someone who was a murderer or who died by suicide was meant to lay at a crossroads because people believed that it would confuse their spirit, because they would rise from the grave and see 4 different paths and be so confused that they just go back to their grave.
Please.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Honestly, it's like how they had all those traditions where they'd cover the mirror and stuff to confuse people. It's like, oh, what do you lose all sort of sensibility when you're dead?
God.
Have more respect.
Have more respect, I know. So all of this was until the 18th century. Most people looked at suicide as temporary madness at that time. In 1823, the last crossroads burial took place. The Suicide Act of 1823 was enforced and made it illegal to bury someone at a crossroads and allowed everybody to be buried in a churchyard. Now, the most famous crossroads burial story that I've ever heard that kept coming up was of Kitty J. There's a ton of different stories about her and different folklore about her, but this is the general story that you get. So it took place in Dartmoor, Deakin, southwest England. Her name was Anne J, but then called Mary J. We don't know where Kitty came from, but she was Kitty J. She was born an orphan. She went to work on a farm, and she became pregnant with the farmer's son. Now, the farmer found out about the pregnancy and kicked her out, and she had no idea what to do, so she hanged herself in one of their barns. When her body was discovered, she was buried at a crossroads. This took place centuries ago. But then in 1851, a full skeleton was found by workers at that very crossroads. The bones were then confirmed to belong to her.
Huh.
The landowner at the time said to keep her there, but give her a proper coffin, and that is what they did. And she lays on the side of the road now in a coffin. I'll show you pictures. You can go visit it. A lot of people refuse to drive that road because there have been many sightings of a woman as you pass, and flowers mysteriously appear on the grave every day. But let me show you a picture of her new grave.
Wow. It's wild. It reminds me of like that one in Tennessee or wherever where
Yeah.
there's like a grave in the center of the road on the median or whatever.
Yes. I know, but this one's like above ground. Like there's just a coffin.
She's chilling.
Chillin'. Poor girl. I would haunt too. I would haunt all
Yeah.
of you fuckers. And that is that. Some burial.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you. No, that was really interesting. Well, first of all, I loved hearing about another King Henry.
Two
Loved
of 'em.
learning about Haughty Lionheart.
I'm going to add that to my spank bank. It's hot, honey.
Not the spank bank. What a foul term. No, I love it. That's really interesting. And it is so crazy to think how they used to villainize people who died by suicide. And
Obviously, we're not pro that.
no, but also who the fuck are we to judge? Like,
You don't know what anybody's going through.
it's none of my, what anyone else does is none of my business.
Mm-hmm.
As long as it's not affecting other people, whatever. But they did used to villainize people for it. And I've read about so many cases too where they would talk about like how the legalities around suicide or whatever. And it's like, well, what are you going to do? I guess desecrate a grave and do this awful shit. But it's like organized religion, sorry, it's built within so much corruption and
So corrupt.
it's so fucked. And I actually had a really good conversation with my friend Val, who was on Cult Leader recently, just about the colonialism of Christianity. And it's just like, the more I learn about religion, the more I'm like, glad that I wasn't raised with it.
Yeah.
I get there's good and there's values and
Absolutely.
there's lessons to be learned, but it's so corrupt.
It's pushing me closer and closer to Satanism.
Oh, yes.
I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm. Well, be careful because I've also been covering a lot of satanic panic lately, and
Oh, please.
people are going to get the wrong idea.
Let them.
Oh, God. Well, no, that was great. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
And we're back. What's got you spinning in your coffin?
All right, Geoffs. So we actually record every episode about 2 weeks in advance. We do this for you in case one of us gets sick or needs a day off, which has
Never
knock on
happened.
wood yet to happen. We don't like to take days off. But that being said, when something breaking happens, we usually don't always mention it because, well, by the time it hits your beautiful ears, it could be old news or maybe there's been changes. I don't know. That being said, we of course have to talk about the recent death of Queen Elizabeth II.
Yes.
And do you guys want to know something kind of eerie or a little strange? The night before the Queen passed away, I had texted Madison telling her that I wanted to cover royal funerals.
You, in fact, did. And we can even post the screen.
Oh, I have a receipt. So when the news broke the following morning, I called Madison. She didn't answer because she was asleep because it was the morning.
Yeah.
But I called her and I was texting her and I was like, whoa, look what just happened. And I was like, let's hold off for, once we talked, we were like, let's hold off on any royal funeral coverage until we know what's happening with the Queen's funeral.
Right.
So I'm going to start off with reading her obituary, which is why I
Okay.
wanted to wait for my side bitch. And this was published by BBC and it's pretty lengthy. So that's why I wanted to wait until I got into my coffin spinner to share it. The long reign of Queen Elizabeth II was marked by her strong sense of duty and her determination to dedicate her life to the throne and her people. I actually learned a lot about her when I was reading this. She became, for many, the one constant point in a rapidly changing world as British influence declined. Society changed beyond recognition, and the role of the monarchy itself came into question. Her success in maintaining the monarchy through such turbulent times was even more remarkable given given that at the time of her birth, no one could have foreseen that the throne would be her destiny. Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor was born on 21st of April 1926 in a house just off Berkeley Square in London, the first child of Albert, Duke of York, second son of George V, and his Duchess, the former Lady Elizabeth Bowes-Lyon. Both Elizabeth and her sister Margaret Rose, who was born in 1930, were educated at home and brought up in a loving family atmosphere. Elizabeth was extremely close to both her father and her grandfather, George V. At the age of 6, Elizabeth told her writing instructor that she wanted to become a country lady with lots of horses and dogs. She was said to have shown a remarkable sense of responsibility from a very early age. Winston Churchill, the future prime minister, was quoted as saying that she possessed an air of authority that was astonishing in an infant. Despite not attending school, Elizabeth proved adept at languages and made a detailed study of constitutional history. A special Girl Guides company, the first Buckingham Palace, was formed so that she could socialize with girls of her own age. On the death of George V in 1936, his eldest son, known as David, became Edward VIII. However, his choice of wife, the twice-divorced American Wallis Simpson, was deemed to be unacceptable on political and religious grounds. At the end of the year, he abdicated. A reluctant Duke of York became King George VI, and his coronation gave Elizabeth a foretaste of what lay in store for her, and she later wrote that she had found the service very, very wonderful. Against a background of increasing tension in Europe, the new king, together with his wife, Queen Elizabeth, set out to restore public faith in the monarchy. Their example was not lost on their elder daughter. In 1939, the 13-year-old princess accompanied the king and queen to the Royal Naval College at Dartmouth. Together with her sister Margaret, she was escorted by one of the cadets, her third cousin, Prince Philip of Greece. It was not the first time they had met, but it was the first time she took an interest in him. Prince Philip called on his royal relatives when on leave from the Navy, and by 1944, when she was 18, Elizabeth was clearly in love with him. She kept his picture in her room and they exchanged letters. The young princess briefly joined the Auxiliary Territorial Service towards the end of the war, learning to drive and service a lorry. On VE Day, she joined the royal family at Buckingham Palace as thousands gathered in the mall to celebrate the end of the war in Europe. "We asked my parents if we could go out and see for ourselves," she later recalled. "I remember we were terrified of being recognized. I remember lines of unknown people linking arms and walking down Whitehall, all of us just swept along on a tide of happiness and relief." After the war, her desire to marry Prince Philip faced a number of obstacles. The king was reluctant to lose a daughter on whom he doted, and Philip had to overcome the prejudice of an establishment that could not accept his foreign ancestry. But the wishes of the couple prevailed, and on November 20th of 1947, the couple married in Westminster Abbey. The Duke of Edinburgh, as Philip had become, remained a serving naval officer. For a short time, a posting to Malta meant the young couple could enjoy a relatively normal life. Their first child, Charles, was born in 1948, followed by a sister Anne, who arrived in 1950. But the king, having suffered considerable stress during the war years, was terminally ill with lung cancer brought about by a lifetime of heavy smoking. In January of 1952, Elizabeth, then 25, set off with Philip for an overseas tour. The king, against medical advice, went to the airport to see the couple off. It was the last time Elizabeth would see her father. Elizabeth heard of the death of the king while staying at a game lodge in Kenya, and the new queen immediately returned to London. "In a way, I didn't have an apprenticeship," she later recalled. "My father died much too young, so it was all a very sudden kind of taking on and making the best job you can." Her coronation was in June of 1953, and it was televised despite the opposition of Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and millions gathered around TV sets, many of them for the first time, to watch as Queen Elizabeth II made her oath. With Britain still enduring post-war austerity, commentators saw the coronation as the dawn of the new Elizabethan age. World War II had served to hasten the end of the British Empire, and by the time the new queen set off on a lengthy tour of the Commonwealth in November of 1953, many former British possessions, including India, had gained independence. Elizabeth became the first reigning monarch to visit Australia and New Zealand. It was estimated that 3/4 of Australians turned out to see her in person. In the 1950s, more countries hauled down the Union flag, and the former colonies and dominions now came together as a voluntary family of nations. Many politicians felt that the new Commonwealth could become a counter to the newly emerging European economic community, and to some extent, British policy turned away from the continent. But the decline of British influence was hastened by the Suez debacle in 1956 when it became clear that the Commonwealth lacked the collective will to act together in times of crisis. The decision to send British troops to try to prevent Egypt's threatened nationalization of the Suez Canal ended in an ignominious withdrawal and brought about the resignation of Prime Minister Anthony Eden. This embroiled the Queen in a political crisis. The Conservative Party had no mechanism for electing a new leader, and after a series of consultations, the Queen invited Harold Macmillan to form a new government. The Queen also found herself the subject of personal attack by the writer Lord Altrincham. In a magazine article, he claimed her court was too British and upper class and accused her of being unable to make a simple speech without a written text. His remarks caused a furor in the press, and Lord Altrincham was physically attacked in the streets by a member of the League of Empire Loyalists. Nevertheless, the incident demonstrated that British society and attitudes to the monarchy were changing fast and old certainties were being questioned. Her husband, notoriously impatient with the court's stuffiness, the Queen began to adapt to the new order. The practice of receiving debutantes at court was abolished, and the term the monarchy was gradually replaced by the royal family. The Queen was once more at the center of political row when in 1963 Harold Macmillan stood down as Prime Minister. With the Conservative Party still to set up a system for choosing a new leader, she followed his advice to appoint the Earl of Home in his place. It was a difficult time for the Queen. The hallmark of her reign was constitutional correctness and a further separation of the monarchy from the government of the day. She took seriously her rights to be informed, to advise and to warn, but did not seek to step beyond them. It was to be the last time she would be put in such a position. The Conservatives finally did away with the tradition that new party leaders just emerged and a proper system was put into place. By the late 1960s, Buckingham Palace had decided that it needed to take a positive step to show the royal family in a far less formal and more approachable way. The result was a groundbreaking documentary, The Royal Family. The BBC was allowed to film the Windsors at home. They were pictures of the family at a barbecue, decorating the Christmas tree, taking their children for a drive, all ordinary activities but never seen before. Critics claimed that Richard Croston's film destroyed the mystique of the royals by showing them to be ordinary people, including scenes of the Duke of Edinburgh barbecuing sausages in the grounds at Balmoral. But the film echoed the more relaxed mood of the times and did much to restore public support for the monarchy. By 1977, the Silver Jubilee was celebrated with genuine enthusiasm in street parties and in ceremonies across the kingdom. The monarchy seemed secure in the public's affection, and much of that was down to the Queen herself. 2 years later, Britain had in Margaret Thatcher, its first woman prime minister. Relations between the female head of state and the female head of government were sometimes said to have been awkward. One difficult area was the Queen's devotion to the Commonwealth, of which she was the head. The Queen knew leaders of Africa well and was sympathetic to their cause. She was reported to have found Thatcher's attitude and confrontational style puzzling, not least over the Prime Minister's opposition to sanctions against apartheid South Africa. Year by year, the Queen's public duties continued. After the Gulf War in 1991, she went to the United States to become the first British monarch to address a joint session of Congress. President George H.W. Bush said that she had been freedom's friend for as long as we can remember. However, a year later, a series of scandals and disasters began to affect the royal family. The Queen's second son, the Duke of York, and his wife Sarah separated, while Princess Anne's marriage to Mark Phillips ended in divorce. Then the Prince and Princess of Wales were revealed to be deeply unhappy and eventually split up. The year culminated in a huge fire at the Queen's favorite residence, Windsor Castle. It seemed a grimly appropriate symbol of a royal house in trouble. It was not helped by a public row over whether the taxpayer or the Queen should foot the bill for the repairs. The Queen described 1992 as her annus horribilis, and in a speech in the City of London appeared to concede the need for a more open monarchy in return for a less hostile media. No institution, city, monarchy, whatever, should expect to be free from the scrutiny of those who give it their loyalty and support, not to mention those who don't. But we are all just part of the same fabric of our national society, and that scrutiny can be just as effective if it's made with a measure of gentleness, good humor, and understanding. The institution of the monarchy was very much on the defensive. Buckingham Palace was open to visitors to raise money to pay for the repairs at Windsor, and it was announced that the Queen and the Prince of Wales would pay tax on investment income. Abroad, the hopes for the Commonwealth, so high early in her reign, had not been fulfilled. Britain had turned its back on its old partners with new arrangements in Europe. The Queen still saw value in the Commonwealth and was deeply gratified when South Africa, where she had come of age, at last threw apartheid aside. She celebrated with a visit in March of 1995. At home, the Queen sought to maintain the dignity of the monarchy while public debate continued continued on whether the institution had any future. As Britain struggled to find a new destiny, she tried to remain a reassuring figure and with a sudden smile could lighten a solemn moment. The role she valued above all was that of symbol of the nation. However, the monarchy was shaken, and the Queen herself attracted unusual criticism after the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, in a car accident in Paris in August of 1997. Never forget.
Never.
I remember I went to the circus that day.
Oh, I remember watching it all over the news.
Ugh, sad.
Terrible.
Ugh, Princess Di, a real gem.
A real gem.
As the public crowded around the palaces in London with tributes of flowers, the Queen seemed reluctant to provide the focus that she had always tried to do during great national moments. Many of her critics failed to understand that she was from a generation that recoiled from the almost hysterical displays of public mourning that typified the aftermath of the princess's death. She also felt as a caring grandmother that she needed to comfort Diana's sons in the privacy of the family circle. Eventually, she made a live broadcast paying tribute to her daughter-in-law and making a commitment that the monarchy would adapt. The deaths of the Queen Mother and Princess Margaret in the Queen's Golden Jubilee year, 2002, cast a shadow over the nationwide celebrations of her reign. But despite this, and the recurring debate over the future of the monarchy, 1 million people crowded into the mall in front of Buckingham Palace on the evening of the Jubilee. In April of 2006, thousands of well-wishers lined the streets of Windsor as the Queen performed an informal walkabout on her 80th birthday. She just walks outside. Love it. In November of 2007, she and Prince Philip celebrated 60 years of marriage with a service attended by 2,000 people at Westminster Abbey. There was yet another happy occasion in April of 2011 when the Queen attended the wedding of her grandson, William, Duke of Cambridge, to Catherine Middleton. In May that year, she became the first British monarch to make an official visit to the Irish Republic, an event of great historical significance. In a speech which she began in Irish, she called for forbearance and conciliation and referred to things we wish we had done differently or not at all. A year later, on a visit to Northern Ireland as part of the Diamond Jubilee celebrations, she shook hands with former IRA commander Martin McGuinness. It was a poignant moment for the monarch whose much-loved cousin, Lord Louis Mountbatten, had been killed by an IRA bomb in 1979. On September 9th of 2015, she became the longest reigning monarch in British history, surpassing the reign of her great-great-grandmother, Queen Victoria. In typical style, she refused to make any fuss, saying the title was not one to which I have ever aspired. Less than a year later, in April 2016, she celebrated her 90th birthday. We're getting close. She continued with her public duties, often alone, after the retirement of the Duke of Edinburgh in 2017. There were continued strains on the family, including her husband's car accident, the Duke of York's ill-judged friendship with convicted American businessman Jeffrey Epstein, and Prince Harry's growling disillusionment with life in the royal family. These were unsettling moments presided over by a monarch who demonstrated that she was still firmly in control. There was also the death of Prince Philip in April of 2021 in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic and her Platinum Jubilee a year later. Although the monarchy might not have been as strong at the end of the Queen's reign as it was at the start, she was determined that it should continue to command a place of affection and respect in the hearts of the British people. On the occasion of her Silver Jubilee, she recalled the pledge she made on a visit to South Africa 30 years before. When I was 21, I pledged my life to the service of our people, and I asked for God's help to make good that vow. Although that vow was made in my salad days when I was green in judgment, I do not regret or retract one word of it.
Oh, I mean, she was old. You need a long obituary for that.
The longest obituary we've probably ever done on the show.
I think that counts as side bitch and normal.
No, I got another one.
Oh, no!
I know it's a very political thing,
Right.
and I'm not super well versed in what's happening in the world. Not in this state of tiredness, at least.
I have heard so much on the news, whether you hate her, whether you love her. I've constantly heard her being a constant, like the obituary started out as. She's been a constant for so many people. So,
Well, I mean, she's a figure in history, so I'm like, we gotta talk about it. But I know there's controversies there and stuff, and I never want to ignore that. But we'll just let it be. We'll let her rest in peace.
we got a little inside scoop sent to us. I'm not going to say names. I'm going to make it very vague. But a Geoff has a family member who works at the royal something royal. They knew about her passing way before it hit
The news.
the news, like hours before, because people were running around like crazy trying to change into black outfits.
Oh, for mourning. Interesting.
Little inside
Little inside scoop for the Geoffs. Okay, well, that's not my coffin spinner. We're just getting tip of the iceberg here.
All
So,
right.
the Daily Mail put out an hour-by-hour timeline for what to expect on the day of her funeral, which will have happened by the time this airs, but this is allegedly how it will go on Monday, September 19th. From 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., the last vigil at the Queen's coffin in Westminster Hall. At dawn on the last day of national mourning, the King's bodyguards will begin their final vigil at the Queen's oak coffin in the Houses of Parliament. It will then close at 8:30 a.m. in preparation for the procession. At 9 a.m., Big Ben will strike. Clearly, before the bell's hammer is covered with a thick leather pad to muffle its strikes for the rest of the day out of respect and deference to the late monarch. At 10:30 a.m., the Queen's coffin is carried from the House of Parliament to Westminster Abbey. The coffin will be moved onto the state gun carriage, which will be put outside the north door at Westminster Hall, and then it will be pulled by naval ratings using ropes instead of horses from the hall to Westminster Abbey. Enormous crowds of mourners are expected to line the streets in Westminster.
Back up. Using ropes instead of horses, I think is, if I'm hearing correctly, I think that that's probably a big deal because they probably used to use horses and now people are like, don't fucking use horses for that.
Who knows? Enormous crowds of mourners are expected to line the streets of Westminster as King Charles and senior members of the royal family follow the coffin as they did at the funeral for Princess Diana and for Prince Philip. The military will also join the procession. The coffin arrives at 10:52 a.m. before being carried into the Abbey. So like they have this like timed by the minute.
Yeah.
Around 2,000 guests, including members of the royal family, the Prime Minister Liz Truss, former British premiers, foreign dignitaries, including U.S. President Joe Biden, Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, and possibly Japanese Emperor Naruhito, and other VIPs will fill the Abbey at 11 a.m. and watch as the Queen's coffin is moved down the nave to the high altar before the nation falls silent. From 11 to 12, they have the state funeral at the Abbey, which will be led by the Dean of Westminster and the Archbishop of Canterbury. It is being televised and is expected to be beamed to millions around the world and could well be one of the most watched live events in human history. Royal experts believe that the choice of the Abbey could be both because it's so big, it has a capacity of 2,000 and can hold as many as 8,000, and it's also believed that it could be a better place for large crowds to gather to pay their respects since it's in central London. And the Abbey was the setting for many of the most important events of the Queen's life, from her coronation to her wedding to Prince Philip. The Princess Royal and the Duke of York and the Queen's sister Princess Margaret were also married there. Other royal funerals have been held at the Abbey, including Princess Diana's in 1997 and the Queen's mother in 2002. The funeral of Earl Mountbatten of Burma, Philip's uncle, was also held there in 1979. At the end of the service, there will be a national 2-minute silence. From 12 p.m. to 1 p.m., the Queen's coffin is carried to Wellington Arch via the Mall. The Mall?
Honey, she needs to go shopping for the
Like
afterlife.
going to Zara. Then the coffin will be transported to Windsor, where the Queen spent much of the last years of her life, to her final resting place at St. George Chapel via the Long Walk, arriving at 3:15 p.m. 4 p.m., the Queen will be buried at St. George's Chapel by her husband, Prince Philip. The committal service conducted by the Dean of Windsor will then begin and will be televised around the world. Before the last hymn, the imperial state crown, scepter, and orb will be removed from the Queen's coffin by the crown jeweler. Then, at the end of the service, a lament will be played by a lone piper as the coffin is lowered into the royal vault, where she will be buried alongside her husband, the Duke of Edinburgh, her beloved parents, and her sister Margaret. At 7 p.m., King Charles will attend a private family burial service at the chapel. King Charles and his closest family will return to the chapel for a private family burial service where, as the late Queen did for her father, the monarch will scatter earth upon the coffin.
I wonder what security is like after she's buried.
Probably, I would imagine, like,
Intense,
yeah. So that's kind of like the course of the day. So as you can tell, it starts pretty early, 6 a.m. and goes up until 7 p.m. After we got that out of the way, obviously I wanted to talk about it. It's an important historical event, but also that's not what I was planning on talking about when I was planning on talking about royal funerals in the first place. Before we learned of her passing, I found a ton of wild information about royal funerals. And one of them is this tradition that they did after the the Queen passed away. There's an article about it on the New York Times that says when the Queen died, someone had to tell the bees. This is, I thought, really kind of cool. As news of the death of Queen Elizabeth II reverberated throughout the world, a headline over the weekend puzzled many on social media that the royal beekeeper has informed the Queen's bees that the Queen has died. Did bees need to be told of human affairs? Would they have any sort of opinion on the matter? I guess this is like a standard practice that dates back centuries.
Yeah, I love this because bees are the most important things.
Yeah. Quote, it's a very old and well-established tradition, but not something that's very well known, said Mark Norman, a folklorist and the author of Telling the Bees and Other Customs, the Folklore of Rural Crafts. The tradition holds that bees, as members of the family, should be informed of major life events in the family, especially births and deaths. Beekeepers would knock on each hive and deliver the news and possibly cover the hive with a black cloth during a mourning period.
I have chills.
The practice
Makes me like emotional.
The practice is more commonly known in Britain, but is also found in the United States and other parts of Europe, I guess.
I want to get a little beehive and talk to it.
In the 18th and 19th centuries, it was believed that neglecting to tell the bees could lead to various misfortunes. So it's kind of like a superstitious thing here. Yeah.
I mean, bees are what are keeping us alive.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to tell them.
We got to tell the bees. John Chappell, the beekeeper at Buckingham Palace, declined to comment, but the Daily Mail reported that he had placed black ribbons tied into bows on the beehives before telling them in hushed tones that the Queen had died and they would have a new master. Mr. Fleming said most beekeepers would most likely be aware of the tradition, but not as many would practice it. It's generally thought of to be a good and nice thing to do, he said. So I thought that was wild. But I wanted to know more about like the burial process. What does that look like? And I guess members of the English royal family are typically buried in lead-lined coffins for preservation purposes. And it's because the lead helps seal the coffin from outside moisture and slows down the decomposition process for up to a year.
Love that.
Love it. It says when Princess Diana died in 1997, her coffin also contained the lead lining, and it caused it to weigh nearly 540 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, really heavy. English nobility have followed the tradition for at least 4 centuries. Records indicate that Elizabeth I and Charles II were both buried in lead-lined coffins, as well as other very famous people. But there is one, Princess Margaret insisted on being cremated. Because I wondered, I'm like, has anyone ever been cremated in the royal family? And I guess Princess Margaret, who was like always kind of rebelling against things, asked to be cremated so that her ashes could be placed beside her father's coffin. And I guess this was the only way to reunite her remains with his, because there wasn't a lot of room next to his coffin.
Oh,
so she's
got
like,
it.
just cremate me.
They're royalty. Why couldn't they get more room?
Yeah, come on. The Queen's funeral, it sounds like, is following a pretty traditional format, but I read that her funeral will break centuries of tradition as it's expected for it to take place in a different location than previous royal funerals. This is the first time since George VI in 1760 that a royal service will not take place at St. George's Chapel in Windsor and is instead being held at Westminster Abbey. So the Queen's doing her own thing.
Yes.
The Irish Mirror put out an article called Secrets of Royal Funerals, From Unusual Objects and Coffins to a Chilling Omen. And this is like the actual shit that I feel like we're going to be like, what? Okay, so George V, after his death, when he was 70, his body was taken to lie in state. And during the procession in Westminster Hall, part of the imperial state crown fell from the top of the coffin into a gutter.
Oh, no, not a gutter.
Not
a
a gutter
crown.
crown. Yeah. Well, the new king, Edward VIII, who saw it fall, was like, oh, this is not good. This is a bad omen. And he would abdicate before the year was out. The night before George's funeral, his 4 sons took guard around his coffin in the famous Vigil of the Princes, only since repeated at the Queen Mother's lying in state. And the next day, the procession went through London before traveling by train to Windsor, where foreign heads of state followed the cortege on its way to the castle. And after a service at St. George's Chapel, he was buried within its walls. After reigning for 64 years, Queen Victoria died at the age of 81, and she had requested no lying in state, instead demanding that her entire funeral, from horses to mourning attire, be arrayed in white, which I think you talked about on a previous episode.
Yes, I talked about her. And her white funeral.
She insisted that she wanted to be buried wearing the white bridal veil from her wedding. Just crazy. They talk about King Henry in that article, which I know we've talked about his funeral before, just how fucking extra it was. But I'm going to leave us with this. This was the wildest thing that I learned. This is about Queen Elizabeth I, who is believed to have died from blood poisoning. She died when she was 69 years old, and she was embalmed and guarded in Whitehall Palace for 3 weeks before being laid to rest. Her maid of honor, Lady Elizabeth Southwell, later wrote about how there were 6 women who watched over the coffin at night. She described hearing a loud crack
Okay.
as the Queen's body and head exploded due to a build of gases.
No, did they open it up and look at it?
Just fucking exploded, bitch.
Did the coffin explode?
No, they heard like this crack. They heard this loud like and they opened the coffin and her head and body had exploded.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God, what did they do?
What were the royals eating at the time between her and King Henry VIII? I'm just...
Oh my God, the jawless fish.
They ate the jawless fish. Oh my God.
I wonder what that looked like. Just curiosity would get the best of me, and
I'd if I heard a crack, I'd lift it up.
Yeah.
I'd want to see what's going on in there too.
God.
Those are just some of like the stranger facts, but there's so much more wild history around royal funerals, and I actually like learning about all the traditions and the things that they do. But Queen Elizabeth took up a lot of time, so we'll have to come back to it another time. But
I loved it though.
That's what I got.
Well, thank you.
That's what had me spinning in my coffin, and
I'm curtsying right now. You guys can't see.
you're cracking in your coffin.
Yeah.
We're gonna hear it. Your head's gonna fucking explode.
Yours is, girly. You're so tired.
I know. 2.5 hours of sleep. But listen, we've made it through. And now we're getting to the good part. It's time for some obituaries. Who you got for me?
All right. I have Larry B. Still. That's his real name.
How still was he?
Well,
Very still, I
very
guess.
still.
Yeah, sorry.
Larry B. Still, 64, of New Martinsville, passed away October 6, 2012 at Wheeling Hospital. He was born on October 19, 1947 in Sisterville, a son of Catherine and the late Cletus L. Still. Larry was retired from Bayer Corporation, which we love because, honey, we get migraines.
Yes.
And he attended the First Christian Church of Sisterville. In addition to his mother, he is survived by his stepfather, Ed Amos, longtime companion Tammy Buchanan Still, Cletus Todd Still of Wheeling, Joseph Scott Still of Phoenix, Arizona, a ton of grandchildren. And then in addition to his father, he is preceded in death by one brother, Timothy C. Still. Services will be Wednesday, October 10th, 2012 at 1 p.m. at Myers Funeral Home with Pastor James Wilson and Mick Price officiating. Interment will follow at Greenwood Cemetery. There will be a toaster oven raffled off after the graveside service. Must be present to win. Larry said, no refunds.
All right.
Okay, so this was sent in to us by Geoff. This is one of her family's real obituaries. And she wrote to us and explained, and it's hilarious. She said, I stumbled upon your podcast today, so there's a very tiny possibility that you may have come across the obituary that I'm going to share with you, but I highly doubt it. This is an actual family obituary for Larry Burns Still, my uncle. My Uncle Larry was that uncle that made everyone laugh. He always had a joke to tell or a crazy story he made up just to mess with you. So when he was diagnosed with cancer and knew his time was limited, he had some requests. He wanted us to raffle off a toaster oven at his funeral, and it had to state in the obit that you must be present to win. This was in the newspapers in our area, and we did in fact raffle off a toaster oven at the graveside portion of the funeral. I'll send a picture of the obit, and if I can find the video of the winner receiving it, I'll send that too. You wouldn't believe some of the reactions we had over the obituary. A lot of people would try to cautiously ask what the deal was, and we would all laugh because that was exactly what he wanted.
I love it.
He wanted to continue messing with people even after he was gone. He did have another request that we weren't able to fulfill. He wanted the funeral procession to do laps around our hometown, behind the hearse, while playing Another One Bites the Dust.
Oh.
They decided against this and just did a raffle.
Come on.
Come on, you already raffled off a toaster oven. But when we went to our cars after the funeral, I turned the key in the ignition and it was on the radio the second the car started.
No way.
It was one of the craziest things I've seen. So we turned it up and let him have his moment.
Oh.
Hope you all enjoyed the story in Obit. If you decide to put it in one of your episodes, I'll share the episodes with the rest of the family. Changing his name isn't absolutely necessary, but it's just how you all like to do these. That's totally cool too. Well, we didn't change the name.
Yeah, we did it.
Your uncle sounds like an amazing man, and
yes.
I love a raffle at a funeral.
That's it. I'm getting ideas.
A raffle off some of your okay, who wants her favorite pink shirt? Aunt Cheryl, I know you really wanted it.
I'm going to raffle off my arm.
Yeah!
Yeah. Oh, God, I love it. Well, I have the obituary for a man named Thomas Flanagan, and it really got me. Thomas Flanagan, October 31st, 1972 to April 27th, 2021. Well, that's it. I've completed my shift as the great American cliche. In the spirit of what turned out to be my last New Year's letter, my wild and crazy life has again taken a new, unexpected turn with my shocking and unexpected yet fabulous exit. Yes, I have joined the likes of Princess Diana, John Belushi, and Steve Irwin the Crocodile Hunter in leaving while still at the top of my game as an iconic superhero who seemed almost too good to be true. It was a good run, no, a great run, but I can't take all the credit. Northern Michigan University and my Lambda Chi, Alpha Brothers, Wayne State University Medical School, the United States Army, colleagues, various celebrities, random cartoon characters, people who make memes, Russians, and other friends and family all contributed. As you know, my wife, Amy, and my kids, Joey, Evelyn, and Sylvia are the absolute best. Please take good care of them like the priceless treasures they are. I will admit that I originally got married for the husband jokes and had kids for the dad jokes, and it did not disappoint. The jokes, I mean. But Amy and the kids were pretty good too. Going to school events, dance competitions, and 8 zillion hockey practices at the crack of dawn really make a man's life worthwhile. I also saw some other delightful things in my time here. Hawaiian volcanoes, Egyptian pyramids, and even the advent of air fryers. I will say, it was magical. All of it. In case you've heard the rumors, I did dabble in a few other things along the way during my 48 years, like serving my country in combat on 2 separate tours, earning the rank of lieutenant colonel, and saving countless lives as an accomplished surgeon and medical doctor.
Wow.
Oh, there was also that whole fulfilling cosmetic and reconstructive surgery stint, too. Yada, yada, yada. Let's talk about my real legacy, though. The dad jokes, the New Year's letters, the Facebook memes. What was I to this world if not a beacon of light shining upon those who couldn't scan the internet for their own hilarious and entertaining comic relief? I guess what I'm trying to say is that you're welcome and you owe me big time. I know it's impossible to believe, but I, the ginger god of surgery and shenanigans, have fought my last cow. You're welcome, Tim, and ridden off into the glorious sunset after re-enlisting with a new unit. Due to the unknown and cosmic nature of my next mission, this will be our last communication. It will self-destruct in 5 minutes. My whereabouts are now top secret, but let's just say, I have made some new friends by the names of Elvis and Kenny. The Church of Tom is closed for business, but please continue to worship me, light candles, and send money. You know the deal. And then it says the visitation, and I just thought it was just fucking good. I
love it.
We needed a little funny one.
So funny.
As hilarious as Queen Elizabeth's obituary was, chocked full of humor.
Oh, not dry at all.
We fucking made it, girly.
We made it.
2.5 hours of sleep. It's now late, and we've spun in our coffins.
We've bitched our obituary hard out.
Hard out. Longest obituaries of our lives. And now it's time for some dumb
Ass
criminals. Who you got?
Okay, I have 2 newspaper clippings, 1904 and 1915.
1904 was last week, too.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, it's the same one. Just kidding.
Okay.
They're 2 arsonists, okay? It's titled, Said to be Fire Ladybug. Mrs. Newman is arrested on grave suspicion. Was she overcome by drink or by emotion? Husband unintentionally set the officers on. Mrs. Willa Newman, a middle-aged housewife, was arrested yesterday afternoon on suspicion of being a firebug. Fire ladybug.
Oh.
Last Saturday afternoon, 2 mysterious fires broke out in empty apartments adjoining Mrs. Newman's apartments on St. John Street. The department was called out twice and found Mrs. Newman overcome by emotion and the neighbors claim by firewater. The fires were very peculiar. The first time, the curtains were found blazing in rooms separated from each other, but both being in the unoccupied half of the double house at number 1535 St. John Street, the other half being occupied by the Newmans. The first alarm came in at 1:45 p.m. The next alarm was rung in at 3:07. This time, a portiere was found to be on fire in the empty apartment in a room different from the one where the blaze had been first. Charles Newman, the husband of the woman, unwittingly set the detectives on his wife's trail by crying out his suspicions. Of course. He said he didn't think it looked right to have two fires in an empty house blazing in two apartments in two separated rooms at the same time. I think she was just going in there lighting curtains on fire.
God.
When the city detectives came in to investigate, it was learned from neighbors that Mrs. Newman had been seen, or at least people thought they had seen her in the unoccupied apartments shortly before the fires. They also said that she had been drinking that day. When arrested yesterday by detectives Davis and Baker, Mrs. Newman said very little except that she was innocent. She was arraigned in the city justice court and was to be examined today. Her husband is in Bakersfield, however, and the case will undoubtedly go over. So Mrs. Newman is a little dumb criminal arsonist setting her house on fire.
Jeez.
We've got another one. Oil-soaked rug gives evidence. I just love a housewife doing bad things.
Love it.
Okay. Woman charged with arson at Brawley preacher quenches fire. Brawley, July 23rd, Mrs. Lulu Sanders, a middle-aged housewife, it's always middle-aged housewife, was arrested this afternoon by Sheriff Applestill on an arson charge. She was released on $500 bail bond. Early this morning, Reverend F.A. Amos saw flames in the Sanders...
Reverend Anus?
Oh, no! Residents at D Street and Imperial Avenue and ran across the street and extinguished the fire. It was discovered that a live electric iron had been set on a rug, which had been soaked in kerosene, and that a pan of the oil was sitting nearby. Furniture had also been removed from the house, and according to officers, Mrs. Sanders slept in a tent house. Sheriff Applestill came here this afternoon to investigate and learned that the house was fully insured and for a sum to exceed the amount of a note soon to fall due, he said.
Ooh, so
some insurance fraud, I think.
Lighting fires. Dumbasses.
Dumbasses.
Oh my God, there's other ways.
There's other ways to get it.
It's like people who used to drive their cars off of like cliffs
like,
or whatever.
What are you good? I know. God. Fraudulent
God.
Little middle-aged housewives.
Just also the idea of people committing crimes in 1904 just is always funnier for some reason.
I know. God, what do you got?
Not 1904. Mine's from 2019, Bonita Springs, Florida. Okay, so this woman, 43-year-old Tracy Denise George Sirleaf.
Oh, she royal or what?
Yeah, the queen of Bonita Springs, Florida, was displaying erratic behaviors inside of the Jean Nicole hair salon in Bonita Springs.
Oh, not that one.
Around 5:30 p.m., a report said that the suspect became unhinged. She collected her things and went to the parking lot before returning a few minutes later and throwing herself into the glass storefront, witnesses later told a detective. She then went to her car and returned with a fucking machete.
What?
Was swinging it around in the air. And so people inside of the salon called 911 because she was like fucking coming at them.
Yeah.
Like, coming, running into the front, I guess. The owner locked the door to the salon.
What, was the window busted out at this point?
I think she just like threw herself into it. I don't know if she actually like broke through or
Okay.
anything. But she kept like coming up with the fucking machete. And eventually she changed directions and pointed her machete at the owner's truck where his two Labrador retrievers were inside.
Oh, hell
And she was
no.
like, I'm going to fucking hit it. And then she turned towards another car just as a deputy was arriving on the scene. And he yelled at her to drop the weapon.
What a fucking little asshole.
She ignored him. She eventually drops the machete and she steps away from it. And the deputy takes the machete away and puts this Tracy woman in handcuffs. He goes inside to like talk to the people who worked at the salon, like, what's going on? They're like, she just fucking lost it. I don't know. While he's doing that, she's sitting in the patrol car and she just lays a steamy turd on the seat.
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
The patrol car as just one big fuck you. She ended up getting charged with 2 counts of assault on a person 65 years of age or older, and her trial is scheduled for April 15th.
Bye.
Bye, dumbass.
Sorry. You commit the crime, you do the time.
Yeah.
Okay.
She was doing something in that patrol
God.
car.
Totally a sturmy turd in
Sturmy turd.
jail.
Yeah. Have fun shitting in no more privacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
God.
Well, I think it's nighty-night time for you.
I got it. We do have some P.O. Box stuff, but I think we're going to have to save it for next week.
We'll do a big one next week.
You guys, I need to go to bed.
Yeah, he's struggling.
I'm on the ground. No. This was great. This was fun. Do this again sometime.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I've got time next week.
Yeah, me too. Follow online at Obituary Podcast on TikTok, obitpod@gmail.com, at Obituary Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and you can
Get a cameo.
Get a cameo. You can write to us, P.O. Box 18149, Long Beach, California 90807. And now we can say it. We'll see you next time for some more coffin spinners
Obituaries.
and dumb
Ass
criminals. Goodbye.
Goodbye.